anyone that's either joining me live or joining on the replay. I am so excited to talk about financial independence today. I initially wanted to schedule this earlier, but I didn't know how to do it because I'm doing it live on my phone. I literally learned how to do it pretty much 5 minutes ago. So in future, I will be scheduling it, a lot earlier, but I'm so thankful if you have been able to join me live today because I do see a few people. So in today's live stream, I want to talk about financial independence. So on my community tab, if you haven't seen that before, I got you guys to actually vote and let me know what you want me to talk about, what topics you want me to talk about, and the majority of you said financial independence, how to work towards financial independence. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about now. I also wanted to share a small announcement, a bit of a surprise announcement. So I am going to be interviewing someone. I don't know if you can tell how excited I am, but I'm going to be interviewing someone about their financial independence journey. Let me know either in the live chat or in the comments if you're watching the replay. Let me know who you think I'm going to be interviewing. I'm so excited. I will give you a tip. The tip is that they became financially independent in their mid 30s. So I'm going to be interviewing them, and I believe the video will be coming out next Sunday. So make sure you are subscribed to my channel, you've got those notifications on, because honestly, I know that there are going to be so many good nuggets with this interview because they have done the journey. They have actually become financially independent. So yeah, that's hopefully going to be next Sunday. I will share more details closer to the time. But in today's video, let's talk about financial independence. And if you've got any questions, please do let me know either in the live chat or in the chat if you are watching the replay. So in terms of financial independence, I want to talk about what I think financial independence is, and then I want to talk about how I think you can start working towards financial independence. So for me, when I'm thinking about financial independence, essentially what I'm thinking is that I don't necessarily have to trade time for money. So I do not have to work to get a paycheck in order for me to pay my bills. I can become financially independent if I don't specifically have to work to have enough money to pay my bills. So I could be investing in things that give me money without me having to, sit at my desk on my, laptop doing work. I don't have to do any of that, but I can still make money, which I can use to pay for my bills. So that's how I see financial independence. And I'm just looking at my notes just to make sure that I give you guys, all the details. For me, you're also thinking about investments being able to fund your bills and your lifestyle. So if, for example, I'm investing in things that are making me money, and again, I'm not having to travel to work to get that money, I can then use that money to pay for my bills. I can then use that to essentially pay for my lifestyle. So in terms of like financial independence, obviously you may have heard it, you may have heard of the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. You may have heard people talking about that. It's very much more, I'd say it's bigger in the US, but it has also caught up in the UK. So I want to talk about like, okay, well, why, like, what does it mean? What does it give you when it comes to financial independence? What does financial independence actually give you? So one of them is freedom, choice. So for example, if you want more freedom, if you want more time freedom, if you want an option to do something, that's what financial independence will give you, because you can then choose to do what you want to do when you want to do it. There's also you don't need to worry about bills because your bills will already be taken care of. in that you won't have to depend on your job in order for you to pay your bills. If you become financially independent, you don't have to worry about that. Your bills will be paid for essentially by your investments. And so that's what financial independence actually gives you, because a lot of us, we do tend to worry about our bills. We're thinking, how am I going to make this rent payment? How am I going to make this mortgage payment? How am I going to make this utility bill? When you become financially independent, your investments essentially will pay for that, so you don't have to worry about that. And also, you, as I mentioned before, you have more time to do what you desire. You have that more flexibility to be able to choose, okay, what do you want to do in your day to day? You could choose to work, because I think one of the misconceptions is when people are working towards, financial independence, or they're working towards retiring early, people instantly think that it's because people don't want to work, and that's not necessarily true. You can still become financially independent and still work. You can still do some type of work. The only difference is that you now have the option, you have the choice to do the work. And that's very different compared to someone who is having to work just because they have to pay bills. It's very different. And so that's what it kind of gives you. It gives you that flexibility, that choice to be able to choose whether you want to work or not, or, do something else, or do any different hobbies that you might have. So it allows you to help to almost have more time to do what you truly desire. So I can tell you my thoughts about financial independence. I think if you have been subscribed to my channel for a while, you would know that part of the reason why I started this channel is because I am working towards financial independence. That's something that I've wanted to do probably since 2018, which is when I heard about it. So I've been on that journey for like almost 6 years now, which is crazy to hear. But I've been on that journey because I realized that I do want to have not only the time freedom, but for me specifically, it's actually to do with the security. Because if the pandemic and all of this high inflation and the recession, if it's taught us anything, it has taught us that when it comes to our jobs, at the end of the day, when it comes to jobs, they're not always guaranteed, right? Having a job is not always guaranteed. And so it's really, really important to be thinking about that. And like even seeing a comment saying, I like your work, but this topic isn't for me right now. Have a good day. My question would be why? Why is it not a topic? Because, and I'm gonna answer this, because I think especially now, like, there is all of this high inflation, things are expensive. I'm not gonna lie and be like, oh yeah, no, things are great. No, I'm going to be honest. However, I think it's still so important for us to be looking at the big picture. So even though you may not be able to have the money to work towards financial independence yet, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't think about it. It doesn't mean that you're not allowed to think about it. It doesn't mean that you're not allowed to think about your future, because at the end of the day, people will still think about their future. You may start thinking about whether you want to start a family in the future. You may want to start thinking about whether you want to buy a house in the future. You will still have these dreams. And so I don't want you to almost kind of tell yourself that, oh no, because I'm in this, like, because I'm doing other things, I can't think about dreaming about financial independence. I can't think about working towards financial independence. I actually think now is probably the most important time for you to do it, because what you will then remember is that actually, if this type of situation comes again, if something happens to the economy, I want to be best prepared next time. And I think that's something that people are missing. Because when the economy, and I'm now going on a full-on rant, this wasn't planned, but I really do like this comment because I think it's definitely fair. When the economy is good, people don't really think about financial independence, because everyone's like, yeah, like, I'm getting paid well, I'm able to, fund my lifestyle, life is great. And so people don't necessarily think about the future. However, when the economy turns bad, then the same thing happens, is that people don't necessarily think about their future, because they're saying to themselves, oh no, I have to think about my now. Whereas what I'm saying is, could you do both? Does it have to be either or? And this message isn't gonna be for everyone. I 100% get that. But for that one person or two or three people where you've realized that yes, things might be tough at the moment, but I also have dreams for my future. I still want to think about, what's going to happen 5, 10, 15 years from now. And can I potentially start preparing for that now? So what I'm trying to say is that, of course, like, don't disregard your situation now. 100%, like, you want to think about your situation, but you may be in a position where actually, yes, things are tough right now, but you also have other goals, you also have other dreams. And can you start thinking about that now? Can you start preparing for that now? And I tell you this only because back in 2018, 2019, when I started thinking about financial independence, okay, the economy wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either. Like, it was kind of normal. Like, people had jobs, people were working, like, it was all well and good. But I chose that time because I realized that, not every what I realized was that the economy is not always going to be perfect. However, I need to think about what I can control at this moment in time. And so even though the economy was quote unquote good, or it was quote unquote okay, I decided, do you know what? I'm actually going to start working on paying off my debt, because I don't know what may happen in the future. And I was so thankful I did, because the time that I paid off my debt, guys, literally the year that I paid off my debt, in fact, a few months into me almost paying off my debt, is when the pandemic happened. The pandemic happened like what? March of 2020? I think I paid off my last debt in May of 2020. I paid off my last debt. And during May of 2020, I think it was either May or June, my company was like, yep, people are going on furlough, you're gonna have 80% of your pay. Luckily, they actually ended up giving me full pay. But I was really thankful, because I realized, had I not actually been working on my debt a year and a half ago, I would be thinking, how am I going to make payments, especially because my company were making redundancies. And I knew they were making redundancies because I was part of the team where I was in the HR team, and they were like, yeah, we need you on this project. We're going to start making redundancies. So I was thinking to myself, what would I have done had I not actually paid off that debt? And they came and told me that I'm going to be made redundant. So I say this to say that, of course, you definitely want to think about your situation. However, I think it is still really important to think about your future so that you can prepare for the next time. Because I have to be honest, this isn't the first time that we've had a recession. We have a recession every few years. And so use this time to say, do you know what? I don't want to be in the same position as I was in this recession. The next recession, I want to be financially secure. I want to be on the way to financial independence, so that by the time something happens to the economy, I'm okay. I have savings, I have an emergency fund, I have investments, I'm actually okay. So again, this message may not be for everyone. It may not be, and I hold my hands up. It may not be for everyone, but I know that there are some people where you should be thinking about financial independence. You should. Even though things might be tough at this time, you definitely should be thinking about it. Not for everyone, but just wanted to make that point. If you're still with me, but I do really appreciate that comment as well, because yeah, for like a lot of people, it's not easy, especially people who are not making enough money. It's definitely not easy. So I definitely, want to make sure that I'm being aware of that as well. So I digress, but let's talk about, okay, how to get started with financial independence. If you're someone who's like, do you know what, actually, I do want to think about financial independence. It's been something that I've been thinking about, for some time. It's been on the back burner, and then, everything crazy happened. And then now I'm like, actually, maybe I should be thinking about it, especially actually, because there are some people that have been paid quite well, where that maybe things were a bit tight before. If things were a bit tight before, you maybe got a pay rise, or you got a promotion, or you found another job that pays a lot more. Because people do that, by the way. People do that, where they end up making a lot more money. You may then realize that actually now you do have some spare money. And so you may be thinking, okay, I do want to work towards financial independence. How do I get started? What should I do? So let's talk about it. First things first, I want you to think about what your financial independence number is. So this is an exercise that I always do with my clients. And I ask them, what is your financial independence number? And how you figure out your number is that you want to ask yourself, okay, what are my monthly expenses? So how much do my expenses come to per month? And how much does that come to per year? So as an example, if your monthly expenses, so that will be, rent, mortgage, utility bills, transport, groceries, all of that stuff, if they come to about 2,000 each month, then that's 24,000 a year. So that would be your expenses. So what your financial independence number is, what experts tend to say is that it should be around 25 times your annual expenses. So if we take the example of 2,000 a month, for an annual expense, that would be 24,000, right? 2,000 times 12. Then 24,000 times 25, so multiplied by 25, gives you 600,000. So that would then be your financial independence number. That is how much you would want in your investments, for example, or in your savings, right? To then be financially independent, where if you took out 2,000 a month, you would be okay. And I said investment / savings because ideally you won't really be saving it in like a bank account or something. You will be investing that money, right? But just for clarity, that's what I mean. So ideally you would want around 600,000. Okay, so you could even do that right now. How much do your monthly expenses come to? Ask yourself that. And then how much is it by year? And then times 25. And then that's the number that you will be working towards. That's one way you can do it when it comes to working towards financial independence. Another way is that, again, you may think about actually having some investments that pay you 2,000 a month. And if they pay you 2,000 a month, then that means that your bills are covered and you can become financially independent. So as an example, if I was investing in properties and I had 4 properties paying me 500 a month after I pay for all of, my expenses, it pays me 500 a month. I can use that to pay for my bills, and that comes to 2,000, right? 500 times 4, that comes to 2,000, and so I could be financially independent because of that. So those are the 2 ways that you can do it. If you do have questions, again, do let me know in the comments. But essentially, when you're thinking about financial independence, you want to think about your number. So what number are you going to be working towards? How much are you going to need for you to become financially independent? And then you then have the work of thinking, okay, how am I going to get there? What am I going to invest in to help me get there? Am I going to invest in rental properties? Because that's an option. Am I going to invest through the stock market? So am I going to invest in companies where they end up making money? I get money from that because I'm owning some of these companies, and then I use that to pay for my lifestyle, to pay for my bills. So there are loads of different ways that you can invest in, but the idea is that you want to then basically get to your desired number. So it could be 600,000, it could be 800,000, it could be 1,000,000, it could be even more than that. It's going to depend on your bills and your lifestyle, so it's going to be very personal to you. It's not everyone's going to have the same exact number, right? My number is going to be different to yours. My numbers are different to my clients because, again, it all depends on their bills. And also because I've had questions like from clients where they've said, oh, I'm not sure what my expenses are going to come to because at the moment I'm staying with my parents. What I get them to do is just a simple exercise to think about, okay, well then where do you want to live? Have a look at where do you want to live? How much do you think the mortgage would cost? Again, you can do that online. You can literally research that online, and then you can ask yourself, okay, how much do I roughly think I'm gonna live on? And then you can use that. And it's really important to know that your financial independence number probably will change. Like if we're being honest, where we live, it's probably going to change. Our expenses are probably going to change. but it's just good guidance so you know what you're working towards. Because once you've figured out what your number is, you can then ask yourself and work backwards to ask yourself, okay, so how much do I need to be investing in order for me to hit my goal? How much do I need to be saving in order for me to hit my goal? So that's something that you can then think about once you actually have that financial independence number. So I'm a little bit geeky because I like to play around with numbers, and I'm like, okay, if our expenses are 2,000 a month, how much do I need to invest? Or if our expenses are 4,000, how much am I going to need to invest? And you can like play around with it. So it really doesn't need to be set in stone, but it kind of helps you to, you almost start to see things as more of a reality. Because I think when people are talking about financial independence and they're talking about, you know, retiring early, which is another concept, when people are talking about that, it kind of seems very airy fairy sometimes, and you're almost like, okay, but is that actually possible? Or are people just, you know, just talking just to talk? But if you actually do the numbers and you're like, okay, I need to have 600,000 as my financial independence number. That's how much I'm going to need in investments. And you then calculate how much I need to be investing in order for me to reach that. That's when it now becomes more real. Because then you're like, oh, okay, no, this is what I need to work towards. And then you can now start thinking about, okay, what do I need to do to make sure that I'm investing this amount of money? So that's something that I usually do, you know, deep dive with my clients, just because it is very specific based on their goals. So if you do want to know more about one-on-one coaching, it should be linked in the description below. But essentially, that's what you want to be thinking about. So you'll have your number, and then you'll be asking yourself, okay, how am I going to get there? What am I going to be investing in? So I can use myself as an example. So at the moment, we have like different areas that we're looking at in terms of, okay, how are we going to reach this number? Part of it is going to be through the business route. So you can become financially independent through the business route, right? So if you have products where they end up paying you on repeat and you don't necessarily have to work, you don't have to work for it. You might do the work once, right? And a couple of times, but then after that, you know, people buy. That's how you can become financially independent, because if people consistently buy those products and you end up making more than your bills, then of course you become financially independent. So that's one option we're looking at. We're also looking at stocks as well. So we're looking at investing in through companies. Big thing for especially retirement as well, because I know that I hope I'm back. Okay, I think I'm back. It was disconnecting, not sure what happened there. But yeah, so we're thinking about investing through stocks, so through companies, because hopefully when I'm older, when I'm not working as much, I can literally just, you know, take money out of my investment portfolio through the companies that I'm investing in. And when they make money, I make money essentially, because I am partly an owner of these companies. So that's also a route that you can think about doing. And also in the future, hopefully we'll also have rental properties as well. It was something we were thinking about closer to the time actually, but we're probably going to push that back a bit further. So that's also something that we're thinking about. But as you can see, it's very individual, but again, once you have your number, it's a bit easier for you to think about, okay, well, what do I want to invest in, and how quickly do I also want to become financially independent as well? So that is also something that you want to think about. And then the other thing that I did want to talk about is, would I recommend financial independence? And again, if you've got any questions, you can also DM me on Instagram as well. I am on Instagram, so at Veronia Spain. If you've got any questions, jump on there and let me know. But I want to also talk about, would I recommend financial independence, and why, if I would or if I wouldn't recommend it. And the answer is yes. I would recommend working towards financial independence, and here's why. I kind of went on a rant about this actually a bit earlier. So I feel like you probably already know why I would recommend it. But I think for me, the biggest thing is, yes, like having the choice to do what you want to do and be able to do your hobbies and spend time with your family is all great. And I definitely think that's a strong why. But I think like one of my biggest whys is really having that security, because we have no idea what these companies are going to be doing over the next few years, if we're being honest. Because when during 2021, all of these companies, especially these tech companies, I've been eyeing them, these tech companies were hiring left, right, and center. They said, yep, come for a job. Yep, come for a job. Then, as soon as interest rates started increasing, as soon as they realized that actually, oh, yeah, things are becoming more expensive, our debt is becoming more expensive, they then decided, oh no, we've got to get rid of people. And they did it. You see it all over social media. You see it all over TikTok or Instagram, where people are literally saying like, I've been fired and they gave me 1 day notice. I've been fired and I literally don't know what to do, because now I have to go and look for another job and I hadn't planned for that. How am I going to pay my bills? And these were the same companies that were hiring left, right, and center literally 2-3 years ago. And they're the ones laying people off left, right, and center. And so that's why I say, again, it's actually really important to be thinking about financial independence, because yes, we have like the choice and all that good stuff. That's great. But for me, it's really to do with security. Because we cannot, guys, we cannot be depending on some of these jobs anymore. Yes, get your pay. Yes, get your promotion. But we cannot be dependent on these companies, not to pay for our lifestyles. We can't be doing it anymore, because we honestly don't know. It's out of our hands. Even if you are one of the best employees and you're performing well, they could still let you go. They could still say, oh, we don't have money, and they could still let you go. Because who they answer to isn't the employees. This is another rant. I wasn't planning on doing this rant, but I think I need to. They don't answer to the employees. Guys, if you didn't know, they don't answer to employees. These companies answer to their shareholders. They answer to the people who own these companies. So if something happens and the shareholders aren't happy, what do you think they're going to do? If the shareholders say, we're not happy with the amount of employees you have in your organization, do you think that they're going to argue and say, oh, actually, no, we should keep these employees? No, they're not going to do that, unfortunately. What they will do is they'll say, okay, cool, cut 20% of the workforce. And then those employees are thinking, what on earth did I do? Did I perform bad? When it's not the employee's fault. The employee didn't do anything. It was people up there that made the decision. And actually it was some of the shareholders, which is why I'm saying that financial independence isn't like a nice to have. I'm like, no, it's now becoming a necessity. Because if you're financially independent, and unfortunately, if you're then investing through some of these companies, what's going to happen? You end up making money, and if they do something, if they go mad and they start, firing all of these employees, at least even if they fire you, you could tell yourself, okay, well, at least I'm still making money somewhere else. And it's harsh, because that's the world we live in. We live in a capitalist environment. So, like that's the reality. But that's why I'm saying, like, it's actually really important to be thinking about it. It's almost becoming a necessity, because yeah, these companies, they be moving mad sometimes. I'm sorry. I feel like some of my rashness came out, but yeah, it's something that you truly need to think about, like not only for the good things, the choice, all of that good stuff, but it's really to do with the security. It's really to do with the security. And what was interesting was that a lot of these tech companies, they were actually, when they hired all of these employees and then they fired them like 2 years later, guess what happened to their stock price? It went up. Their stock price went up. And what I mean by that is more people started investing in these companies when they laid off employees. And why is that? Because they answered what the shareholders wanted, the shareholders got. So more people then invested in those companies. And I'm not saying that's fair. because it's madness. Like, I'm not saying it's fair at all. It's actually madness. But I'm saying this so that you are aware. You are aware of what is going on. You are aware of how the economy works. So, like, even if you don't have anything going on, if you're working at this job, just remember that you cannot be depending on this one job. You cannot. I'm begging you not to, please. Whether it is that you start your own business, whether it is that you start investing, I'm honestly saying that actually that's what you really need to start thinking about, because it's now becoming a necessity. It's not financial independence is not a nice to have anymore, because we can't be depending on these employers, unfortunately. So yeah, I feel like I went on a little bit of a rant, but do let me know if you've got any questions. Let me know if you've got any questions at all. If not, I will probably leave it there. Next time I do go live though, I will try and schedule it much more in advance. As I mentioned before, I didn't know how to do it on my phone, so I was like trying to play around. But yeah, let me know if you've got any questions. If you do want to start working towards financial independence, that's what my one-on-one coaching is for. I will help you to actually start saving for it, and we can do all of those calculations. We can help you to get started with saving that money, investing that money, so that you can start working towards financial independence. So make sure you book a call with me to find out more. But if there aren't any questions, I do appreciate I went on a very long rant. I'm so sorry about that, but hopefully you got something out of it. Even if it's just one person that got something out of it, then I know that by God's grace, I've done my job. So yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you soon. And remember, I am going to be interviewing a really, really amazing person soon. I hope it's going to come out next Sunday, so I will let you know more about that. All right, thanks guys, bye.